What up, everybody? With only 2 episodes left of Power Book 2 Ghosts, the deaths of Effie and Kane have both been foreshadowed multiple times this season. They say when you live the life they live, you're lucky to live to be 25. When my mother kicked me out at 18 before I got my own place, I spent a few months sleeping on the floor at an apartment of 2 kids from the grade above me. All 3 of us were in the game, but their lifestyles were more wild than mine. Neither of them lived to be 25 years old, and a couple years later, I was in prison. Like they say, when you get in the game, you either end up dead or in jail. But there is an alternative route if you get out the game, because I got out the game once I got out of prison and have been free for several years now. So there's a way of not having that ending, and that's getting out the game before one of those things does happen. But the thing is, you never know when your time's gonna come. This is something that Ghost tried to explain to Tasha in Power, that he didn't know any old, wrinkled up drug dealers. And this is why he was so desperate to get out the life, because he knew if he didn't, that it could only end 2 ways. This is something that Effie realizes, and she does have a plan to get out the life by studying robotics at Stanford and pursuing a life in that field. And personally, I'm rooting for Effie to get out and make that happen. But at the same time, her death being foreshadowed is partially connected to getting out the life, because working for Noma's almost like being in a gang, because once you get in, there's only one way out. Like Effie herself told Diana, with Noma, you're either in or you're out with a bullet. Noma herself even told Effie that there is a way out, but she doesn't think she'll like it. This definitely wasn't talking about Effie getting out and having the life she wants at Stanford. This was a warning. Like Effie told Diana, the only way out is with a bullet. And in episode 7, Effie became a lot less valuable to Noma because she handed the Stansfield course correct knockoff business over to Brayden, as well as the entire Ivy League business. This was obviously an attempt to try to get one thing off her plate to be a step closer to going legit. But even if Brayden seamlessly replaces Effie with the Ivy League business, and that's not a guarantee either, because I think there's a good chance he'll get locked up for killing that guy in episode 8. And Brayden getting locked up was also foreshadowed in episode 8 when Tariq warned Brayden that doing stupid shit like that is how they get caught. I made a video about that a couple days ago. Make sure to go on my page and check it out if you haven't yet. But even if everything does go seamlessly with Brayden taking over the Ivy Leagues, Noma's still not going to let Effie out, because she still has her duties to fulfill with the Russians, because they refuse to deal with anyone in Noma's organization other than Effie. And if Brayden messes up the business in the Ivy somehow, this would be another reason for Noma to come down on Effie. But those weren't even the only times that Effie's death was foreshadowed this season. In episode 6, in the Stansfield School Library, when Effie found out that Diana was pregnant and Tariq was the father, she mocked them. But Diana replied to her, if she keeps being Kane's side piece, Noma was going to put a bullet in her head. And now Noma and Kane are engaged to get married, and in episode 8, Noma told Effie that whatever she had going on with Kane, it needed to be over with. And when Noma tells someone something, she expects them to obey her orders. If they don't, they'll likely end up dead. And the episode 9 trailer shows Effie hooking up with Kane despite what Noma told them. What would Noma do if she were to walk into Kane's penthouse only to find Kane and Effie walking down the stairs together? Or even if Anya were to come over to Kane's penthouse again for whatever reason and see the two coming down the stairs together and told her mother? It would be scary hours for Effie, whether or not she's going to survive or not. Not to mention that dealing with the Russians is already very dangerous, because the last time she met up with them, Carter and his task force did a raid and were dropping everyone on sight and only wanted the Russian leader Vadim alive to question him about who his supplier is. But now that Carter and Noma have united, Carter will reveal to Noma that it was Monet who sent him after the Russians, if she hasn't already figured it out, putting a target on the Tejada's back. But this will clear Effie's name, and they'll no longer be suspicious that Effie might be the snitch. So Effie's death was foreshadowed 3 times in season 4, and so was her boyfriend's, Kane's. Drew's death was also foreshadowed one of those times as well, the most recent time when Kane echoed to Monet what she told Diana about Kane. Kane warned Monet that she's gonna get him and Drew killed behind that Carter shit. Something that Monet also told Diana at the hospital in episode 7, that she didn't want Kane get involved with Carter because it would get him killed. But now Kane is involved with Carter, and now that his fiance has made an allegiance with Carter, he's also gonna feel a way about that because he don't like doing business with no cops. Not to mention that he's already been lying to Noma to protect Monet. Kane told Noma that Zion robbed her shipment and wouldn't tell her the truth about who snitched on the Russians to Carter. He was just hoping that bringing Noma the info about Carter's task force being dirty would be enough to distract her from thinking about who the snitch was. But it didn't work. And now Noma knows that it's Monet who's been messing up her business. And does this mean that she also knows that Kane's been lying to her to protect his mother? This could put Kane in a very vulnerable situation, especially if she can find a work around her citizenship issues another way through her new connection to Carter. Carter has a lot of people on his payroll like he told Monet, and he has a lot of connections like he told Davis. So he might have a connection who could take care of her citizenship issues for her. And we also don't know how much of Noma's hand she's going to reveal to Kane, knowing that she might not be able to trust him because of his allegiance to Monet. And like I said, Kane warned Monet that she could not only get him killed, but also Drew. And during one of the flashback scenes Monet had this season, Lorenzo warned Monet that mixing their kid with business wouldn't end well. After Monet had a gun in the car and got pulled over and put her gun in Kane's car seat. Like Kane told Mecca in season 2, that he was in the life before he was even born. His brother and his sister too. Something that Lorenzo originally didn't want, but Monet forced all his children into the game anyway. Like Kane once asked Monet, "Am I your soldier or your son?" And she replied to him that he's both. Could Kane die as Monet's soldier, possibly even sacrificing his own life to save his mother? And either though Lorenzo once warned Monet mixing their kid with business wouldn't end well, he later went against his own word, even forcing his own daughter to move product for him in season 3. So either though Lorenzo was specifically talking about Kane because he was their only child born at that time, this could have been also a warning concerning Drew and Diana as well. And the episode 9 trailer also shows Diana and Drew both getting mixed up in some bad stuff. Diana and Drew are in a shootout with somebody, and this is most likely going to be the Russians, getting revenge for Monet snitching on them to Carter, and getting so many of their men killed in the process. And if they also find out that Noma is working with Carter, they could come for her as well. The Tejadas have been pinning things on the Russians for a while now, so I know the Russians are eager to get revenge against them. So there's a lot of angles that the Tejadas could get taken out in these last 2 episodes as their enemies are stacking up. And it might be that the only way that they survive this last season is by uniting as a family again. So we could potentially see a very tragic ending to Power Book 2, with Effie, Kane, Diana, and Drew all becoming casualties to the life, and Brayden going to prison for life for killing Steve. And it's even possible that Tariq gets locked up and might have to do a few years in prison as an accomplice because he was with Brayden when he killed Steve. And either though personally, I hope it doesn't happen this way, there is a chance that it does at the same time because these things have been foreshadowed. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.